Excellent result then for the defending champions as they inflict Barcelona's first defeat of the season. We welcome in Frank Leboeuf. We'll be hearing from Frank in a moment. But Craig, you looked at the starting 11. No Dembele, no Doué, no Kvaratskhelia, no Marquinhos. You thought, well, blooming heck.
João Neves got injured, I think, was it in the warm-up?
Yeah.
Or
PSG there for the taking, but they were...
There's five players, it's five superstars.
Yes.
Superstars going forward, your most experienced defender, away from home, no problem. Well, there was a problem at the start, and that's what I was saying there during the highlight. It took a little while for them to grow into the game. When you're making as many changes as they've had to make in Ligue 1 and today, and then you lose João Neves, who's a very, very good midfielder. So it upsets you a little bit. But that defending from Barca for the second goal is just a shambles. It's a shambles. There's no pressure on the ball, and they've left all that space in behind. It's just an absolute shambles. It's asking to be punished by very good players, which PSG have. So a marker has been set down again. They are the best team in Europe until somebody proves otherwise come the end of May or whenever the hell the final is, usually about that time. They are the best team, and they've put a marker down today to say, listen, we're not going to go anywhere. If we're going to be dethroned in this competition, somebody's going to have to wrestle it off us, basically.
Yeah, we'll talk about Barcelona in a moment, but PSG, as Craig said, despite missing these star players, went toe-to-toe and very much deserved the win.
And so instead of focusing on the players that were not there, and we know they're big names, and we know they're superstars, focus on the guys that were on the field. And you look at a kid like Mayulu that takes the goal so well in the manner in which he did. The level of activity of Barcola, who just keeps going on the left, on the right, down the middle, on the right, on the left, down the middle. And he just continues to be a threat getting in behind. Hakimi, when he joins in the attack, he is able to exploit that high line of Barcelona better than anybody else because he's coming from a deeper position already. So when you play him a through ball, he's coming from a deeper position, stays on side, and breaks everything up for PSG. Vitinha, although he turned the ball over for the goal of Barcelona, the rest of the game really controlled the pace of the match through the midfield. Fabian Ruiz always solid in what he does through the midfield as well. And then I have to mention Nuno Mendes. When you were looking for something different from PSG in the first half, when they were struggling, the first 30 minutes were very difficult for PSG. Nuno Mendes went on that run that broke Barcelona down the middle. He ends up getting fouled. Some would argue maybe potentially a red card for Frenkie de Jong. I think the yellow card was enough. But regardless, that run just gave PSG a different type of life. And it was from that kind of run that they get the goal as well, in which Nuno Mendes takes over the ball, finds Mayulu, he scores, and the game changed dramatically. PSG, without all those guys, regardless of who those guys are, they had a plan, they executed that plan after 30 minutes. Again, I must stress, the first 30 minutes were all Barcelona, but after those first 30 minutes, and they seem like the team in control of the match at Barcelona against all the toys, against all the superstars. PSG better than Barcelona.
And credit to Luis Enrique, Frank, that you've got the personnel to come in and play the sort of football which has made you so successful over the last few months.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, knowing that you had so many absences and Paris lost the Classique last weekend, you know, I was really worried for the PSG team. But what they showed today, it's absolutely a statement. And Luis Enrique can be proud of his tactic, of his personal, his individuals, and the depth that he has in his bench. And it's been proven today by the excellency of the young players and the way they work. But it all goes to, and I agree with Ali, by one guy, Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes was not really there the first 25 minutes, and we saw Lamine Yamal. And then he switched off Lamine Yamal. He did exactly what he had to do to make sure with one ball that he got back from Lamine Yamal. And then we saw him on the De Jong yellow card, which I agree with Ali was a little bit more orange one than the yellow one. But after the second acceleration that he made and giving the ball to Mayulu was the beginning of the PSG domination. Except like maybe 3-4 minutes second half, Paris Saint-Germain deserved to win that game easily. That was amazing. I was a little bit scared by the end because they couldn't convert what they were doing and scoring a goal. And I say, well, at one point, Barca is going to come back and score the goal and win accidentally that game. But Paris Saint-Germain, nothing to say. They did what they had to do, and with the 5 absences, out of to Luis Enrique. Perfect plans, perfect tactic. Well done, guys.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered, would it? Both teams are going to go through. But
No, both teams are going to go through. But I think the problem, and I think this is actually more of a statement, obviously, from Barcelona regarding negative play.
Yeah, that's
I think that's my. If I'm a Barcelona fan, it's a big issue because I've seen it coming this season. I might be top of the table, I might be undefeated, but so many times in these games that we've seen in La Liga, they've opened the door for opposition. And when you come up against a proper team like PSG, they're going to take advantage.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. It's not really going to be bigger picture, making a huge difference to these two teams in this huge league table that we're going to roll out maybe at some point.
I think it's getting prepared
It's
next
getting
week.
prepared for the next round of the Champions League, because that's very exciting.
Yeah.
The next round. It's a marker and a learning curve of where you are. And as Frank said, they lost against Marseille. They've had all these injuries. You know, they're still the strongest team by far. But for Barcelona, although they've had a good start to the season in terms of results, you could argue, and I don't think it's up for much argument, the defending's been much worse than last year. Now, we talked about this the other day. Martinez gone to Saudi Arabia. Martinez was an organiser. He was a voice. He shepherded the back four. Wasn't the quickest, wasn't the biggest, wasn't the strongest, but was certainly the most experienced of those players. And the players that he's tried to bring in and to do that role, Eric Garcia's been there, Araujo, Christensen, Kubarsi, who was Martinez's partner last year, they're not really leaders of the back four in terms of squeezing up as a unit. And that's where they have the problem. It's been so many different personnel, but the same mistakes.
Yep.
And they're given, not just against the PSGs of this world, against some of the mediocre teams in La Liga that they've played. Those teams have carved out a lot of chances against this Barcelona side, and only because they have the firepower up front to overcome teams is why they have started the season the way they have, because defensively, once again, they've been very poor, and we saw it tonight.
And to your point, go back to this past weekend against Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad, who over the last year and a half, their one big-time difficulty is scoring goals, is creating chances. And they created opportunities, so much so that Take Kubo hits the crossbar late in the match. That would have been the difference between winning the game 2-1, as Barcelona did, or tying the game 2-2. That's Real Sociedad with all their difficulties. This is PSG. Even though they have these guys injured, they still have an element that really troubles Barcelona, and that is the element of speed and the element of timing your runs. And I mentioned Hakimi and how from a deeper position he can time his run, how Barcola just can flat out outrun people. And so what I don't understand from Barcelona's perspective and Hansi Flick's perspective is, look, you have your philosophy of playing with this high line. Okay, this is who you are. Fine. This is how we're going to live. Fine. But learn. Learn from the experiences of last year. Learn from playing against better opposition and how that better opposition actually exploited that high line. Learn that you need to have pressure on the ball. Learn that in the first goal, for example, I have no idea what Eric Garcia was. We focus on Jules Koundé being late, chasing back. We focus on Kubarsi and not being able to cut out the pass to Mayulu. But Eric Garcia, the other center back, was almost holding hands with Hansi Flick on the sidelines. How do you get yourself in such position in which you're nowhere to be found as a center back? And those are things that I'm singling out Eric Garcia in that specific circumstance. But these are things that are happening all too regular. The second goal, you have Pau Kubarsi, who's nowhere to be found. You have Alejandro Balde, who thinking that he's covering for Kubarsi. He talks all the way inside, and in doing that, leaves Hakimi, one of PSG most dangerous players, even if he is the right back, completely wide open. And guess what happens? So now Alejandro Balde is panicking. He's coming out wide. Kubarsi is still late, and nobody is chasing down the middle Gonzalo Ramos. It happens too much, too often for Barcelona, and it's something that by now should have been addressed. There should have been lessons from last season that should have been learned by this season, and it hasn't happened. They're going to continue to get exploited by better teams, better position, and teams that have speed in the attack.
Frank, you're a defender.
Yeah, no, that's kind of a group of kamikaze for me. Everything they try, it's like, okay, we go for it, and if we die, it's okay. That doesn't work like that. I mean, you have to to try to cover each other. You really have to talk. You need to an option two. And yet, if it works, because you want a high pressure against the opponent, you have to know if it doesn't work, especially against Paris Saint-Germain, we know how to handle the ball, keep it and go from left to right. They were doing that already in the first half, where very quickly they were going from right to left to make sure they were creating problems and issues to the Barca defense. But when you see it doesn't work, maybe get a little bit more conservative, Sometimes in options you can draw and try to press high, but when it doesn't work, drop back a little bit, get conservative and try to work defensively and work in counter-attack. Somebody like Lamine Yamal, for example, and some others, they can do that. They can work and make runs in counter-attack because PSG was going to be high on the field. But it seems to be that Hansi Flick doesn't have that option two, or doesn't want to try that option two. And that's not enough if you want to win the Champions League, because you have a team like Paris Saint-Germain and you have a coach like Luis Enrique who has more options, and that's the deal you have to find.
Let's be honest about it. I mean, if ifs and buts, but if PSG had a fully fit Kvaratskhelia, Doué and Dembele, they would have had a full day today. We wouldn't have been sitting here talking about 2-1. We've been sitting talking about 4 or 5.
But we had these same conversations after the Inter game. Why hasn't he changed? Why hasn't he realised there's a problem?
Well, he won't change because they had a lot of success domestically last year, which they did. But again, the personnel has changed. So the dynamic has changed. I mean, Ronald Araujo, who didn't play tonight but has played recently in the centre-back role, he didn't play last year much towards the end because he didn't trust him to play that high line. He's big and he's quick and he should be able to do it, but it's not just about speed, it's about timing. And so it's a different personnel. You've had injuries in the left-back position. You've had Gerard Martin playing out there. He's not the best left-back out there by a stretch. You've had Eric Garcia playing right-back. You had Koundé out the team, rested at the start of the season. The centre-half position is chopped and changed almost every game.
Yes.
Almost every game there's been a different partnership. So when you have that, it's even more difficult to get it right. And I think we saw clear evidence of that tonight. So listen, it's good for us watching the Liga and watching Barca because it's exciting. But this sort of Kevin Keegan mantra that he had from Newcastle in the halcyon days when they were going head-to-head with Manchester United, and it was, if you score 3, we'll score 4. You kind of feel Barca were successful at that last season, but can that continue? That's the big question. Because if Lewandowski or Ferran Torres or Rafinha, who didn't play, or Lamine Yamal are a little bit off colour and they're not getting those 3 and 4 goals every game, then you have to start keeping clean sheets. And Barcelona are certainly not the best at doing that.
If I may add just one more point on this high line situation. And while it is true that they've had different personnel in the back line, what's also critical to their success, if this is going to work, if indeed you're going to continue to play this way, and this is the way that Hansi Flick seems to be enamored with playing with this sort of risk, you have to have pressure on the ball. And so the guys ahead of the back line have to be able to get close to it. You have to have Pedri pressing the ball. You have to have Frenkie de Jong pressing the ball. You have to have tracking players from the attacking half pressing the ball. At the very least, forcing that pass is not a straight pass or a free pass to where Vitinha can get his setup and say, I can play it left, I can play it right, I can play wherever I want to. And the spaces are already there, structurally open for me. Right away, I know that those spaces are going to be open. In order for you to be able to play that way, you have to have pressure on the ball. And what we saw after the first 25, 30 minutes today is that Barcelona did not have enough pressure on the ball, and it became a whole lot easier for PSG to play.
Just a reminder, of course, Barcelona in action. The final round of matches before the wonderful international break is upon us. Barca are playing Sunday away against Sevilla, 9:45 Eastern. Saturday, the late game sees Real Madrid take on Villarreal. Haaland after the game saying not good enough as City drop points away from home. Frank Leboeuf is still with us. Frank, take us through this one.
Well, I don't want Craig to be too much excited by League One clubs, That was a clear robbery from Monaco. That was a real robbery. I mean, no way that they deserved to even get a draw, but they fought until the end. And maybe City, second half, got a little bit sloppy. I want to talk about Haaland. Haaland had touched 7 balls in the first half, had 2 shots in goal, 2 goals. that says a lot about the guy and the fact that he's a real finisher and a game changer. That's simply amazing what he did. And it's sad for Manchester City that they didn't try much or more, because they would have won that game very much easily and didn't do enough. And it's life, It's hard to say on the penalty because we don't have a clear image if I think it's Nico Gonzalez who do the high foot. I never seen that he touched Dyer's head. That's not clear for me. So I can't say it is or it is not a penalty. Maybe players will know better. But anyway, City should have won that game. Didn't do what they had to do to get the 3 points. And Monaco got something special tonight with 1 point.
It doesn't really matter though. It's the contact is somewhat
He had grass on his head, didn't he? He kept pointing to the grass.
The contact is somewhat irrelevant. It's the dangerous aspect of the play, which affected. Was it Dyer that went for the header?
Yes.
Which affected Dyer's ability to make the header because the boot was in the face. So the kind of touch. For those that saw the Chelsea game yesterday. João Pedro come off the bench and got sent off for a second booking for something similar. The boot was up near the face. There might not even any contact, but it was a second booking. So as soon as, and we did see that with contact from Arda Güler at the weekend in the Madrid derby. So you raise your boot in the box like that, not as an attacker. It seems fine if you're an attacker. I don't know why the rules are different. But if you, as a defending player, raise your boot that high, near a head, be sure, even if there's no contact, if somebody's in the vicinity, you're going to be punished for it.
And Haaland obviously making a statement again, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, shocker. Erling Haaland's going to score goals.
Yeah.
But also shocker, after the match, not happy with the outcome of this game. And it's not the first time, and I think it won't be the last time this season that we'll hear Erling Haaland talking about, look, how much more can I do? Because if I touch the ball 7 times in the
Do you think
first
he's
half...
going to leave City?
What?
So you're suggesting he's going to go to a bigger club?
Wait, you're taking quite a leap there.
I'm trying to fill some time on this segment.
Well, I've got news for you. We really don't need to fill time on this segment.
All I'm saying is that if you're a player like Erling Haaland and you feel like you're doing your job, but you're still not getting the results that you think...
You're going to leave.
Wow. Not yet, Dan. He's not leaving just yet, regardless of whether we need to fill this segment or not.
Just a reminder, Extra Time is available over on our YouTube channel. The boys saying later answer your questions. This is Robbo and the smallest ladder in the world. Be sure to check it out over on YouTube. Arsenal 2, Olympiacos 0 then is how it finishes. This is welcoming Gab Marcotti. Gab, you were keeping an eye on this one for us?
I was, and I can tell you, you know how Arteta loves talking, like a whole bunch of managers actually loves talking about control and controlling the game. And remember, he told us how much they controlled the game against Man City when they were losing 1-0 at home. He wouldn't have liked, I think, what he saw in the second half because it turned into a very wide open game. As we saw, Arsenal, plenty of chances in the first half. Olympiacos came back. They were dangerous. We saw those Raya saves. And, I think Arteta decided to rotate, play some second stringers, or maybe I'm being unkind here, but make some changes from the lineup to which we're accustomed. Obviously, we saw Ben White, Lewis Skelly, who I thought did okay. We saw Marino midfield. You had Rice, you had Saka on the bench, you had Timber on the bench. And what happens? All those guys come on in the second half because you could tell he was extremely grumpy until Saka scored that second goal in injury time.
And we saw Gyökeres, of course, play a key part in the opening goal. Gab, how was his performance?
So it was good in the first half against Olympiacos. Tailed off a little bit. I think this is one of those games where had Arsenal taken their chances in the first half hour, and then they're 2-3 goals up, and then the second half doesn't unfold the way it did. It was very clear what Mendilibar was trying to do with Olympiacos. He's obviously a savvy coach, a Europa League winner. Soak up the pressure, weather the storm, and then hit them. And they have some very gifted players, technically gifted anyway. And obviously Daniel Podence, who we saw, Joshua Martins as well, Chiquinho. And it really felt like Arsenal lost their bearings early in the second half. And hey, it helps when you can bring the likes of Rice and Saka off the bench. But I think this underscores how it's great to have so many options, such a deep squad. But when you play your second stringers, even if they're talented, you lose a little bit, I think, in terms of chemistry.
Arsenal are third favourites to win the Champions League if you fancy to flutter right now. Interesting that PSG and Barcelona are still joint favourites considering what we witnessed earlier on today. Liverpool, of course, losing against Galatasaray 3-2. Bayern Munich 9-1. A lot of those teams, of course, there's a lot of work to be done with a lot of those sides, including Arsenal, of course, but I don't think...
Where are you going with this?
I don't know. They want me to ask who's going to...
You're looking at this graphic. I think just get that graphic and kick it into the trash can. It's so far away.
Right.
You know, winning this thing
Yes.
is months and months away. And we talked about this the other day. We saw how the worm can turn for a team like it turned for PSG, who had a really difficult and unconvincing start to the Champions League last year, and then hit the straps around about the turn of the year, and were by far the best team in Europe come the end of it. So, you know, a lot of teams are trying to figure stuff out, particularly like, say, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, who were defeated yesterday. So, you know, to be honest with you, there's a few teams we shouldn't even bother putting on that list. But I wouldn't be putting any money on Arsenal to win this competition.
So it finishes Napoli 2, Sporting 1. Scott McTominay led the way. Now it's Rasmus Højlund's turn, Gab.
Yeah, I think we want to pump the brakes a little bit. It's not as if Højlund is anything like the success that McTominay was yet. He's still very young. He's only been there a few games. Wasn't great at the weekend. But tonight, he really fit the bill for Conte. That's what he wants him to do. In Lukaku's absence, he wants him to play in transition, to attack the space, to use his pace and his power. And we saw that. And he dictated the pass from Kevin De Bruyne. I wouldn't be surprised if Højlund and the big man Luka don't end up sharing time on the pitch at centre forward for Napoli until Lukaku's return, because obviously against teams that park the bus, Højlund is really, really ineffective, or is a lot less effective than somebody like Luka. But it's certainly a confidence builder, and you saw that there in the way he celebrated, and you saw glimpses of what he can do.
Gab, I mentioned before the spat between De Bruyne and Conte. What went down at the weekend?
Well, it wasn't really a spat. De Bruyne, after being substituted, you know, it's kind of weird, 20 minutes to go and you're losing, you need a goal, and you take off De Bruyne and McTominay, but hey, Conte's Conte, right? And as he's coming off the pitch, he's talking to himself, and the cameras view him, you know, they depict him talking angrily at himself, people assuming he's angry at being substituted. Conte was asked about it after the game. Conte said, well, I hope he was really angry because we were losing. If he was angry about something else, he's messing with the wrong guy, obviously referring to himself, which sounds kind of ominous from Conte. So afterwards, De Bruyne, he was all sweetness and light being interviewed. He's like, no, there's no problem at all with Conte. Really happy. Love it here. Great manager, great man, and blah, blah, blah.
So Napoli then.
So it was a story about nothing.
With the win.
We tried to make another story.
2-1. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you very much for all your questions. Gab is here, as is Frank. Gab's got a new background, look, dancing away. Craig and Ali here in the studio. What were you right about now?
Even though it was a Champions League today, on paper it was supposed to be... Is my mic still working? They say my mic's not working.
That'd be a dream for all of us.
I'm done. I'm not even going to make the point anymore.
Good.
I thought it was going to be a great point.
No,
just to say,
that'd be a first.
38 minutes we managed to get out of that show today, and that was a stretch.
Well, there we
even
go.
though it was a Champions League.
Right, yeah. It was, there we are.
Kind of not loving this.
Frank's happy, PSG won.
All right.
I mean, nobody cares.
Frank does, look.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Too early in the
I am.
competition.
Yeah, look at
Tell
him.
you what,
I am.
He cares a lot.
Gab looks happier than the football reporters.
Yeah, Gav, why aren't you on the football reporters? You can bring some life to the show.
He's above that. He's above
Wow,
that.
yeah, above his pay grade. That's it.
No. That's more of a Mark Ogden, Rob Dawson, grim northern thing.
Wow.
Jules and I live in London.
Okay, all right, well done. Congratulations.
I think there's a little bit of a...
Yeah, of course, yeah. Craig, you've mentioned Barca's high line about 100 times now. Why do they still keep messing it up?
Because they keep doing it. But, you know, what did they win last year?
They won La Liga.
The Copa del Rey,
Yep, Copa del Rey.
Super Copa.
Yes.
So, you know, that is Hansi Flick's answer to say we just have to do it better. It's as simple as that, because it's not going to change. He's not all of a sudden going to bring personnel in and they're going to drop off and defend deeper. It's not going to happen. What I would say is, in certain games, I think I'd like to see them manage it a little better, depending on the scoreline.
Yes.
So if you're 1 or 2-0 up, there's no point having to rush to try and do it and put yourself or the other side back in the game when you could manage it a little better. Like the Inter game last year, where they did not manage the end of that game well at all and got punished for it.
For Ali, how far do you think PSG can go in the Champions League this season, given the number of first-team absentees they had today?
Win the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you think about every other club that is considered to be a favorite in this competition, you can really break down these clubs and say, yeah, this one's missing that one's missing this guy's not so much, what about those guys? We got questions about... When it comes to PSG, the question really is, can they meet their own standard? Not the standard of everybody else, their own standard. And if they meet their own standard, and if those players are available and consistently performing at the level that they are now, obviously the goal should be winning this whole thing, and they're more than capable of doing it.
Where are we getting these questions?
Well, that's a decent question.
It's not
That's
a decent question.
I don't mind that question.
No,
we can't have you on extra time every day having to go
No,
at the
no.
questions.
Consider. Well, I'll do it. Well, don't have me on it at all.
Well, that's good.
Right, I'll take time off. I'll take time. Considering the absentees they have today. That's today.
Yes.
The 5 players that were missing are not out for the end of the.
No, but I think the fact is that they still beat Barcelona in Spain without these players.
Well, why even ask the question then?
Well, maybe they want to get a reaction. I don't know.
Stupid questions, and we can't even filter them out.
Frank, your thoughts?
Well, I'm with Ali. I mean, it must be a nice feeling if you're a PSG player, knowing that if you give 100% and your teammates do the same, you're going to win everything, because you are the best team in the world, and nobody can cope with the tactic, with the talent, with the individuals that they have, and that must be very, very exciting. Again, as what I said during the show, they lost during the weekend against Marseille, and we say, yeah, okay, without the big star, they're not the same team. It's what everybody said in France, losing in the Classique. But what I saw today, it's quite amazing. After like 25, 30 minutes, where we felt that it would be like last weekend, and they're going to struggle, and they're going to lose against Barca, they woke up. And we have to say there are 2 players with Hakimi and Mendes. If the opponents are not capable of dealing with those 2 players, every team playing against Paris Saint-Germain is going to suffer, because those 2 players creates the difference right now.
Gab, was Barcelona actually lucky not to reach the Champions League final last season, given that they were beaten today by PSG, even without their full attacking lineup?
Well, I don't understand. Were they lucky that they didn't get beaten in the Champions League final? They got beaten in the Champions League semi-final. Is that better? Is that more final?
I think they would get humiliated. That they would get humiliated more than Inter were in the final.
All right. Hey, look,
Don't you start. I got him as well.
I don't think so.
No. I'm not being difficult. I mean, Frank said a few seconds ago that this is the best team in the world. I think Frank's old club, who are the actual world champions, might have something to say about that. But I'm just going to point out that when it comes to Paris Saint-Germain, I think I'm right in saying this, the last two coaches who have beaten them have something in common, which is they're both Italian. In Enzo Maresca and Roberto De Zerbi.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Okay.
I look around at
You're
these,
not helping me,
I look
Gav.
around at all these Champions League teams, and I wonder how many have had the wisdom of signing an Italian manager. And obviously Inter's manager.
So Napoli is going to win the Champions League.
Dear.
I mean, I'm sure that was a really good
Napoli?
discussion in the summer.
Why not?
I'm sure that was a really good discussion in the summer, wasn't it? Well, tell you what, lads, we were really lucky we never got to the Champions League final, and I'm quite glad we got put out by Inter late on, because we'd have got battered, because that's how football works, isn't it?
Just on Gab's point there, I'm guessing that Simone Inzaghi is not Italian.
Oh, there you go, Gab.
So-
Take that.
I'm just saying, in Champions League final, it didn't quite work out.
Yes, that Barca were happy not to be there as well.
Yeah,
There we are.
absolutely. That's good.
But it doesn't work every time. Listen,
all right,
listen,
okay.
it's one of those things, right? Not every Italian manager is going to beat them, but to beat them, you have to be Italian. At least that's what the stats say. That's what the numbers say.
God, I hope the hospital calls me now.
What? You're going to make it?
Ali, do you think
I'll tell you what, at this rate of questions, I'm not being funny, at this rate of questions, I'll take a liver transplant.
Do you think Rashford has changed his mentality and tries to pass more to his teammates, Ali, instead of taking on defenders one-on-one since going to Barcelona? Is he
Well,
less selfish?
I would say that today was a very good ball to Ferran Torres for the goal. But I would also say that if you have Marcus Rashford on the field and you're Barcelona, you like the fact that he goes in the 1v1 situations, because he would be sort of the opposite to Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal doing it on the right-hand side, Marcus Rashford doing it on the left-hand side. And that he would give you a change of pace with his speed that Barcelona sometimes needs. Sometimes when Barcelona gets in trouble, it's because they start passing the ball sideways and back. Marcus Rashford is more of a direct player, and they have been successful with Rafinha running in behind, with Rashford running in behind, exploiting spaces in behind in transition with Hansi Flick. If he's able to add that, and 1v1 situations is something that he does naturally, continue to do that. I think he brings a different element to the game and the attack of Barcelona.
Have Newcastle strengthened enough to compete in Europe while still pushing for European spots in the league this season? Craig?
No.
Gab, what do you think?
I mean, thank you. I'm not a big Johan Wisa guy, and obviously Voldemort is a lot of fun, but the reality is Nick Voltemade, despite his headed goals, which he didn't score last season, but is scoring this season, that's still done in quantity. Neither of them is a patch on Alexander Isak. It takes a lot out of you to play both in Europe and compete in the league. We know that. So no, I wouldn't put them as an obvious sort of top 5 or 6 team in the Premier League this season. And the risk for Eddie Howe is that Europe really takes a lot out of them.
Define compete in Europe.
I suppose make it, say last 8. Quarterfinals? No.
Yeah, come on. They lost at home against Barca, and we saw today what happened to Barca against Paris Saint-Germain. So it says a lot about what Newcastle can do in Europe. I think they're lacking so much stuff. Even if they can fight with the crowd and everything, and at St. James's Park to be difficult for team to win. But really, we have to be humble sometimes, and I'm sorry to say that.
That's Frank's epitaph.
Newcastle's
sorted.
not going to win anything.
So, in what sense?
So humble.
In what sense have they strengthened?
Well, they haven't.
They haven't.
No, exactly.
They lost Callum Wilson, who's a squad player, and Alexander Isak. They've brought in Voltemade,
Yes.
who's started okay, and Visa.
Yes.
So we can argue
Elanga, they bring in Elanga as well.
Anthony Elanga, yeah, to be fair. But are they stronger or the same or weaker? Anyway, why am I?
I don't.
I know.
Oh, you said no first. That was your.
I know.
Yeah,
Stop
to
to
that.
You're very invested now.
Final question, everyone. Hooray! Gab, how surprised you that Milan are at the top of the table?
I am surprised. I don't think they're necessarily playing great football, but it's that whole Max Allegri method. I mean, you saw it against Napoli as well, where even at 11v11, they didn't. I don't think they had a single shot on goal. So it was before stooping on sending off. It's obviously a different approach. It's a more conservative approach, but I'll tell you what. Max Allegri's brand of football may not be to everybody's liking, but he's a phenomenal manager, and he does get the best out of people. So, just look at the job they're doing with Christian Pulisic. Santi Jimenez even got on the score sheet recently, and is starting to take over. He can get a tune out of Rafael Leao too. That's pretty good up front. Of course, the big question mark is Luka Modric going to get help in midfield, or is he going to be expected at age 40 to carry the can in the middle of the park? I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.
See, that would have been a better question.
We will be back tomorrow for the first Shaka Power Rankings of the season.
All right.
Oh my God.
Stay humble, Frank.
I'd be there.